Morning, everybody. This is Justice's Waiting Room, a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. Yep, woke up, ran into a trimmer. Shit happens. Just didn't see it coming. I'm your host. My name is Jared. Every morning, we start the show. What is it, girl? A little bit of war. Edwin Starr. And I cut myself off. All right. Happy Sunday morning. Hope you all had a wonderful evening. It's one of the dogs. Just got off the phone with my wife. She'll be home later today. The checkout's at 10. A wild few days, huh? Alright. So, here is the Earth round. Alright. Throw theme song in the chat. We'll get popping. Morning Squint, Bob and Kara. Alright. And there's this video from Our Palestine. I'm going to Stacy, where Qatar has removed Israel from the map entirely and replaced it with the Palestinian territories. hmm All right, Russia's getting real reckless. Kind of the first thing I see that gives me the oh shit. Another Russian drone breached Romanian airspace. So, Russia out here fucking it up. Full disclosure. Just out here fucking it up. Ricky Hatton died. For those of you that are boxing fans, died at 46. Old boy was 4 years older than me and looked every bit of 10 years older than he was. When I say violence is not the answer, that includes violent sports, including hitting each other in the face. That's a bad idea. Okay? That shit fucking hurts. And also, if you get good at it, it's kind of weird. Boeing is getting fined into the ground. But I want to continue to point out that this regime has not negatively targeted any of Elon Musk's companies, but are regularly penalizing his competitors. So for everyone that's like, where's Elon? Oh, he's there. Concerns raised a Labor Day weekend rally in Ontario's Niagara region by a self-described Canadians men Canadian men's nationalist group is prompting concerns about rising anti-immigrant sentiment and recruitment after effort of extremist groups. Researchers who study extremism have compared Second Sons, that's a video game reference, to white supremacist and neo-Nazi active clubs. Such clubs bring members together for fitness workouts, and some experts say it's related to training for what members believe is an upcoming race war. 50 people, by the way. So I know that the growing threat, right? Growing extremism. I want to point out every time they freak out that they're marching. Hey, Mike, good to see you. Glad you're back. Every time that you're like, oh my god, the neo Nazis are marching, there's 10 of them. There's, there's, there's 10. Right outside of a city of millions of people. They could get a whole 10. Now it was 50 in Canada. Now, obviously, 50 is more than 10, but these are things that are unrelated, wholly. There were a lot more neo Nazis in Charlottesville, even though there's plenty of fine people in Charlottesville. See, look, a functioning government for thee, but not for me, huh? Istanbul district mayor and 47 officials detained over corruption allegations and widening crackdown. This is in Turkey. But why can't we have a functioning government? Right? Jesus! Alright, a triple homicide. I got a thing in my eye. A triple homicide in Florida has caused 6 additional officers to lose their jobs. Yeah. Yep. We need an independent body to investigate corruption on all levels. We need people. Here's a lawsuit. And again, remember how I told you that your boy had an interview at Tesla, and I got all the way there in a suit and tie with my resume in hand and got to the door, and they realized, oh, and he's a big guy, so we can't just bully him. Yeah, we're not gonna hire that guy. Well, there's a lawsuit against Tesla for hiring visa holders instead of Americans, so that it can pay them less. I'm looking at news and world news first, as per usual, in case you wondered. Oh, and hey, I wanted to make sure I say this loud and proud early in my show, because I don't know where else. Like, I don't know if making content about this is wise. Uh, sir, it's Tesla. Yeah, right. It is. You're correct. I think that Nick Fuentes ordered the killing of Charlie Kirk, and I'm basing it entirely on him speaking out yesterday and denouncing violence of all kinds. It was too much. It was so much of a denouncement that it was like, that's suspicious. And I'm one of those people. If I think something's suspicious, I'm a dummy. I don't know what I'm talking about. But if I think shit is suspicious, oh, it's over. It's over. He did it. He ordered the ritual killing of Charlie Kirk. Why? Uh, he's too powerful. He's just too powerful. See, I want to point out that the Palestinians are being forced, in even in other countries, to give up their arms in order to live in peace. All right, Poland and our allies are confronting Russia at the UN over their drone incursion. Squint said jealousy makes people do crazy things. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, Bobby. I would ask you to do. Go watch Nick Fuentes talk about Charlie Kirk before he died, and then listen to how Nick Fuentes talks about Charlie Kirk after he dies, and you're like, hold on. The only reason that you feel that way is because he's dead. It's not because you had a change of heart. You didn't have a change of heart because he died. You had a change of heart because the words that came out of your mouth resulted in action. People actually did stuff. Remember, I've sat up here every day and denounced violence every day, not just when it suits me, right? I would ask, before you give too much grace to Nick Fuentes, listen to the way he spoke on Charlie Kirk before Charlie Kirk died. And then listen to the way he denounced violence yesterday. It's so striking that you would be like, what? 2 days ago, you fucking hated him. Shit spun on its head real fucking quick. It's almost suspicious. And so all I'm saying is there are many people that are going to have many ranges of feelings about Nick Fuentes' activity, but I think it's suspicious, and I think it points to him having communication with that groiper that murdered. What was it? I don't even remember the shooter's name now. And remember, I want to continue to point out, I'm not real big on continuing to talk about Charlie Kirk. And you also won't catch me lauding shooters, right? Lauding serial killers. No. You know what's way worse than do you know what's worse? Oh man, I really got a lump in my throat. You know what's worse than martyring Charlie Kirk? Martyring his killer. And then you have a bunch of copycat serial killers the rest of our lives. And oh, by the way, I want to point this out. Howard Zinn. It's important that we acknowledge things that are fucking crazy, right? So the FBI, in the wake of that shooting, immediately arrested this man named Howard Zinn. Now they let him go. He didn't do it. But it's important to understand that that man was at the Boston Marathon when that terrorist act happened. I'm pretty sure he's at 9/11, and then he was here at this. So it's just kind of fucking odd. I don't want to say it was 9/11, the Boston Marathon, and this. And it's just kind of fucking crazy that that guy was at all three of these like world-changing events, right? And he was arrested and questioned. But like that's kind of fucking weird. That guy was like at all that stuff. See, this is what the fuck I'm talking about. Hmm. You know what it feels like? It feels like the governments of the world are killing all of their poor people, um, in sort of a forced extinction of the poorest, most disabled, least advantaged of us. Um, I want to continue to point this out that, like in every civilization ever, mass death does not bring people together. And I'm not talking about me, but you want to talk about like toppling governments and shit? This extermination of our poorest and our most disabled and least advantaged, I'm noticing. I'm noticing all over the world. Ukraine out here fucking shit up in a good way as Ukraine destroys a Russian Navy control base. Jesus Christ. A fiery accident in Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula left 15 people dead. Jeez. Occurred on a highway. Killed passengers traveling in a trailer car and taxis. That's wild. Australia and Papua New Guinea are going to totally integrate their military in a defense treaty. Little diplomacy going on. Little bit of shared. I like to see it. To just understand, the Aussies and the fucking Guineas can get along. Okay. Here's Israel Times. Reports emerge of widespread dissent among top security leaders ahead of OP, which the Wall Street Journal says involved air-launched ballistic missiles fired at Doha from over the Red Sea. Interesting. And again, think about the article you're reading, right? Mossad refused to carry out a mission to kill Hamas leaders in Doha. Hmm. This feels like circling the drain, though. It's happening all over the world. Governments are protecting themselves and leaving their people to suffer. Here in the Philippines, by the way, those 11 people that died in international water 2,300 miles from the U.S. were tuna fishermen. The President of the United States was bragging on the internet about using military assets to kill a boat full of tuna fishermen. And let me guess, just like in Israel, there were drug smugglers among them. There were drugs on that boat, okay? Yeah, right. Bullshit. Taiwan is going to lose 6.67 million workers in two retirement waves. This is wild. So Taiwan is going to have a shortfall of of people to work jobs, meaning, think about all the horrible shit going on in the world. And in Taiwan, they have more jobs available than people because of. Oh, wow. So I'm going to read this article because it's really interesting to me. It's about money and the economy and jobs and stuff, but it refers to another country. And so don't think of me reading this because it could happen here. Like, no, no, that's not why. The pressures on the economy are compounded by persistently low birth rates, which have produced no more than 1.6 million new entrants into the working age population, leaving a shortfall of more than 2 million workers compared with the number retiring. Okay, so again, I want you to keep in mind, not because it's going to happen here, but why. A bunch of people are retiring, and Taiwan's got a low birth rate. Why? For the purposes of the study, working age youths were defined as people 15 and older. The first wave is expected to be followed by a second wave about 16 years later when those born in the late 70s and 80s reach retirement age. The two waves together projected to cut 6.67 million people from the working age population. Now, another compounding factor, so this is why it's not apples to the US. Don't do this to yourself. Okay? The Another compounding factor is the low labor force participation rate among older Taiwanese. Only 10% of people 65 and older remain employed. Okay? So, for the record, having some jobs available is good. too many people that are like, oh, more jobs than there are people, we're all gonna die. And it's like, no, you have the ability to move between jobs until you find something you like. What the fuck? But only 10% of people 65 or older remain employed. Now, compare this with South Korea, okay? 25 to 30% of people 65 or older in South Korea work. And same with Japan and Singapore. So they get you into the um, labor race later, they get you out of it earlier. Okay. The Taiwanese also spend longer in education, delaying their entry into the workforce, with labor force participation among those between 15 and 29 at just 38%. So if you're under 30, there's only about a 1 in 3 chance that you're working full time. And this is because you're probably going to college. Uh huh. And think about this. In the United States, 60% of Americans are working full time between the ages of 15 and 29, meaning we don't spend that long, and we don't spend long enough in education. Okay? Citing a separate study by the Ministry of Labor, it says that more than 196,000 Taiwanese university and college students have yet to register for labor insurance, excluding those who work in the military, working overseas, or engaging in farming. It indicates that a significant number of Taiwanese are either looking and failing to find employment, or they're just idling at home. And for the record, listen, man, one of the things that I cannot stand hearing people say, is that people don't want to work and people don't want help, right? Um, I don't think people are just idling at home. I think that once you start to make excuses for why people aren't actively looking for employment, we're getting into mental health shit, and we're getting away from, are they just not looking for a job? Good to go. So the hey, Taiwan's losing population. They got a low birth rate. They spend a long time in education. They retire, and when they retire, they retire. Okay, and they're not grinding us out early in life. We have a 78% literacy rate. Even Gaza had a 98% literacy rate. I don't know what scupper means. Morning, Danielle. Yo, this is cool to me. I know there's a lot of you that like aren't into everything I'm into, but I'm into like flight and India has what's called the Indian Air Force, and India is gonna build its own fighter jets. 60% indigenous content. Um, Unlike Donald Trump, who said they were going to bring back manufacturing to the United States, and we've done nothing but lose jobs um, in manufacturing. I'm getting cold. I'm gonna put my hoodie on. Okay, this shit's interesting to me. They're teaching computers to read the Dead Sea Scrolls and they can see stuff human beings can't see. Okay, so I've kept a lid on it for long enough, and I think that it's time we have this conversation about this gentleman that I had a conversation with recently. Uh, I'm not scared. It's that I don't want to give way to conspiracy. So, um, for those of you that aren't aware, okay, there's 15 of you in here. Somebody had to have heard this shit before. So I was following up with someone at work, and he disclosed that they were in the Navy, and they didn't do that during our first conversation, and most of the time that they do. So put that in your brain hole. He did not mention that he was a veteran. So I followed up with him, said he was in the Navy, and I was like, oh, well, thank you very much for your service. I was in the Marine Corps. I love working with my fellow veterans. And he said, oh, you were in the Marine Corps. What'd you do in the Marine Corps? I said, well, I was in the Marine Corps Infantry. I was in 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines Weapons Company. I ain't no war hero. You ain't got to worry about that. I was a 0351. That's demolition. That's small rockets within the infantry. Backblast area all secure, that type of shit. And he was like, oh, you mean like the AT-4 Dragon small tow Jav? And I was like, yeah. I mean, the tow goes to the 52s, but because that's an IR guided system. So they would want to train a whole new person to shoot the tow. But yeah, every other thing that goes bang bang, I got that. And then he was like, right on. I was special warfare in the Navy, and I have no idea what that means. Me, I don't know what that means. Um, and I was like, oh, right on. Now keep in mind, I recently spoke with another Marine, so understand, separate conversation. And the guy says, I was in the Marine Corps, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. I was in the Marine Corps too, Semper Fi, brother. Uh, and he was like, what'd you do? And I was like, oh, I was a 0351. And he was like, oh, 51. Okay. Let me guess, you're some like highly decorated war hero. And I was like, no, on the contrary. Got real lucky. And he says, every Marine I have ever spoken to is a war hero and basically Rambo. And I was just like, that tracks, but that ain't me. And he was like, good to go, whatever. So, separate conversation. Guy says he was special warfare. And I'm just like, I'm sure you're special. I'm not going to disrespect someone, but like in my head, in my heart of hearts, I'm just like, oh God, please don't lie. Like there's nothing worse than having somebody fucking lie about their service. And he interrupts himself after he says he was special warfare. And he says, I shouldn't be talking about this. Probably right. And he says, are we being recorded? And I was like, oh yeah, every call is recorded, brother. Now, this is a follow up, so nobody's going to listen to it. But every call is recorded. And he was just like, okay, we should have a conversation outside of this place. And I was like, I'm sure the security's not getting better. Like, if you and I are going to talk off this phone line, the security's going to get worse. I'm on a VPN. Oh, yeah. So he's like, okay, we're on a VPN, and you said this is a follow up, so people don't normally listen to those. Like, yeah, people don't normally listen to follow ups. And he was like, all right, um, what do you want to know? And I was just like, I have no idea what special warfare in the Navy is. Like, I don't even know what that is. And he said, Jared, I was a Navy SEAL. Oh, all now it's all coming. Now I understand. You were a Navy SEAL. He said, uh huh. And in my head, I'm like, I don't even know any questions to ask SEALs because my daddy went through buds. So he better be real careful because my dad rang the bell. So, yep. I'm just like, oh, okay. Um, do anything fun? And he said, have you ever heard of the Medusa program? No. No. What's the Medusa program? And he said, super soldiers. And I was like, oh, okay. And he said, when I was in the Navy, I originally signed up to be a corpsman. And I was like, oh, I love my corpsmen. You know, they're the meds, the medics. Your ass doesn't get saved by a marine; it gets saved by a sailor. Um, I was like, oh, you're a corpsman. And then in my head, it's not that he's losing validity. It's just you don't normally talk to corpsmen that are SEALs. They usually have different jobs. That's all I'm saying. So he said, I went on my first deployment back in the fucking day, and because I'm not white, I got in a fight on the boat all the time and basically fought for my life against my own sailors, and then ended up fighting, not being a non-combatant, ended up fighting, doing whatever they were doing on his deployment. And after his first deployment, instead of getting like punished, they were just like, you should join the SEALs. Like you're clearly better at fighting than you are at helping. And I was just like, again, I don't know how the fucking Navy works. I'm not taking anything away from this person at this point because they haven't done anything that's fucking unbelievable. But they did a deployment as a corpsman and then decided to join the SEALs. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, why would you do that? And he said, I really wanted to get into a phantom unit. And this is where my eyes start to glaze over. And I'm like, what is he going to talk to me about Ghost Recon? Like, what are we? Ghost Recon's a fucking video game. Yeah. So he was like, join the SEALs. And I wanted to get into a phantom unit to hunt cryptids. And I was just like, what the fuck is a cryptid? And he said, cryptids are regional boogeymen. And you know how your brain takes a moment to wrap around the sun, right? And I was just like, regional boogeymen. Am I getting, is this a fucking joke to you? Like in my head, I'm like, regional boogeyman. Are you talking about Bigfoot? And he was like, I have information on Bigfoot. And in my head, I'm like, come on, man. And he was just like, it's not what you think. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, what do you think Bigfoot is? And I was just like, a big person living in the woods. And he was like, exactly. It's just a big hairy dude living in the woods. Hmm? And he was like, it's a regional thing. Chupacabra, Slender Man, all this stuff. And I was just like, so are these things real? And he was like, well, you have to have a shred of imagination, and you have to understand that there are whole ass units in the military whose job they're a phantom unit. So that means that like publicly they don't exist, which is for good reason because they're hunting fucking cryptids, kids, which may or may not exist. So keep this shit in check. I'm fully still here, have not left. Okay? So he says I wanted to join a phantom unit to hunt cryptid. Okay. And then he said, and then I wasn't able to do that. I got out and joined the CIA. And I was like, okay, Navy SEALs, CIA. This is wild to even speak to someone that like got here to this part of the game. And he explained that in the Medusa program they do experiments to make us um, more capable. And they were building like these what do you say, mining expendable delivery unmanned submarine asset, yeah, the Medusa program. And so he was like, yeah, they did experiments on me. uh, this is not at all a person that was like all those conspiracies are true. They were just like, what do you think Bigfoot is? And I was just like, it's like a big homeless person. They're like, exactly, living in the woods. Okay. I i didn't have to take a leap of faith to get there. And they were just like, there's this Medusa program. And then you ever heard of Plum Island? And I was like, nope. What the fuck is Plum Island? Um, and he was like, they did experiments there too. Same thing at Area 51. And I was like, in Nevada? Or New Mexico or whatever? Hmm? The experiments. And I'm like, okay, everything's tracking, right? None of this seems out of the ordinary. You gotta realize, like, I have razor sharp. Like, I will call your bullshit out. I don't give a fuck. Like, dude, you're delusional. Get the fuck off my phone. Whatever. But when he's just like, they did experiments on us in the Medusa program. Look up Plum Island, Area 51, phantom units, cryptids. And I was just like, so you're telling me that the boogeymen are real? And they said there are people who spent their entire time in the military in a phantom unit hunting cryptids. Decades. And I was like, since the fuck when? Like, since when have phantom units existed that hunted regional boogeymen? Since the appearance of regional boogeymen. We have been using military assets to hunt them. And I'm like, okay, so are we like taking them down and like doing some shit? No, not not at the pace and clip you think we would. They're not a danger. Oh, I'm like, so now we're saying that the regional boogeymen exist. They use military assets to hunt them, but they're not necessarily like something you kill. Like otherworldly? More like you kill it, you have a bigger problem. And that's that people know that phantom eunuchs exist. So what this really means is like there was a movie that John Travolta was in that people had a big problem with, talking about. And again, I'm not, one of the things that I don't do is I don't cross branches. Good to go. I was in the Marine Corps, infantry. I don't even speak on force recon and shit like that because I was friends with them guys and I know what kind of stress they're under and I ain't saying shit. The most capable human beings in the world are JSOC. The fuck out of here. Okay? So, from what I understand, Stacy, he sought to join Phantom Unit as a SEAL, wanted to get into a Phantom Unit, And the only way he was able to do that was through the CIA, where he spent his career. And now he's retiring. He's gonna die. Just want to tell a story. Yeah. Wow. It was a wild, wild evening. But yeah, let's look up the Medusa program. Basically, what the Medusa program, here's the way I perceive the Medusa program without going into too much detail that gets you in too much trouble. What I perceive the Medusa program to be, as it refers to like special warfare, is Navy SEALs. Not a lot of people know this. Navy SEALs are underwater demolition men. That's that's the whole gist of ocean training is underwater demolition. My father went through BUDS. BUDS is basic underwater demolition school or the first phase of Navy SEAL training. My father has rang the bell, and that means that he quit. And he quit because he got a notice from command that my mom was pregnant and in the hospital with me. So, imagine being in the Navy for years, trying out for the SEALs, making it, and then you have to fucking quit because I'm coming along. Like, awesome. So, again, I don't swear to know anything about the Navy or Army or how they do stuff. So, for example, like a guy goes on a deployment on a boat and he's fist fighting everybody, and then they throw him out into the bush and he's fucking good there too, and then they're like, fuck it, go be a SEAL. Sounds like a video game. Well, I mean, I have to think they've been doing something productive because they're saying that it still exists. It's an intelligence resource program. 1983 document. This is what it is. Jesus fucking Christ, it's real. Hey, we're not talking about the underwater. Nah, man. Medusa Project. Winston Powers, Lieutenant General. What the fuck? I don't know. Here's a CIA doc. Crisis Information and Management System. An attack by a UFO military unit in Siberia. Medusa is a direct energy non lethal weapon. Yo, look at this shit. Yeah, from what I understand, they did experiments on him and it hurt him really badly in Project Medusa with the CIA. Do you think they used the non lethal weapon system on him? Phase 1 Project Medusa. Yo, look at this fucking document. It's crazy. Security affairs. I mean, there's docs all over the place on this shit. The truth about the Medusa agents. The elite's darkest secrets. Yo, this is what I thought he was talking about. Super soldiers. He was telling me like I was strong before I became a SEAL. I was elite as a SEAL. And then I went through the Medusa program with the CIA. And I was just like, and super soldiers. And I was like, Captain America type shit. Hmm. Half alien, hybrid super soldier like in the X Files. Well, I think he just said they did experiments on him. He didn't say they turned me into a half alien. He just said that they expanded my lung capacity and I could fucking run faster and jump higher. So I would back off thinking he's Looney Tunes and more like, huh, this is a person that actually went through the shit and can speak on. I wasn't able to get in a Phantom unit to hunt cryptids, even though that's like a thing. I got out of the CIA and went into the Medusa program where they did experiments on me to make me better, and he got out. Yeah, except for the Epstein files, they put everything out but that. But yeah, um, from someone that went through that program that wanted to talk about Area 51, and he was like, "Do you believe in aliens?" No, like of course not. And he said, "Good, okay." So I'm not gonna be duped into trying to believe in aliens. And he was like, "No, no, but they do experiments." Oh, they're trying to push human beings to the edge. That's the real thing. The real thing is that he's talking about programs where the U.S. government and the U.S. military experiments on people, and he's one of the people they experimented on, and he like made it out alive. I think it's a fucking awesome story.
I haven't caught any bullshit where I'm like, this is a dude telling fucking war stories, talking about shit that doesn't exist. I mean, we just looked up Project Medusa, and I was able to find declassified CIA documents and declassified NSA documents that say that the Medusa program is real and they experimented on fucking CIA agents. And that took 2 fucking seconds to do in the internet, and those are declassified documents with top secret labels that are in declassified on the CIA website. That was the first link. Was actual CIA, CIA.gov. Yeah, I don't have any fucking doubt in my mind. Let's look up Plum Island while we're at it. High security animal disease research facility and significant ecological importance. Plum Island was closed in 2024, close to both New York and Connecticut coastlines, so it's on the northeast shore. Bro, look at this shit. Origin point of Lyme disease and the Montauk monster. It's the Area 51 of the East Coast. Yo, check this shit out. On the west side of the island, sealed behind decades old metal doors and frozen inside tamper proof containers, are vials of Rinderpest. I didn't even know that was a fucking word. Rinderpest? What the fuck is that? And foot and mouth disease. Two of the most feared animal contagions of all time. A single detection of foot and mouth disease in the wild could wipe out entire herds of livestock and completely halt international agricultural trade. So this dude was fucking experimented the fuck on, huh? Here's the CIA. Hey, hey, I can connect some dots. I can connect some dots. CIA SEALs, Plum Island, Medusa program, super soldiers, experiment, Area 51, experiments on people. Hmm. What the fuck is Rinderpest? Because they're saying like Plum Island shuttered in 2024. It was They eliminated it in 2011. You shit yourself to death. Are cryptids real? CIA. Here's a cover. Here's their cover for it, where they make a joke out of cryptids. And CIA agents made a book. An agency author and artist detailed 15 monsters in all. Bureau of Land Management. Now, I wanna make sure that this isn't me completely like believing conspiracy theories. If there was absolutely no redeemable source, we'd have just moved on. Here's the Bureau of Land Management. Creature that is believed to exist without significant proof. Terms been used since the 80s. Sightings and claims of the unnatural have haunted the globe for centuries. Hey, here's the Indiana University Science Department. Seven species that used to be cryptids. The Komodo dragon. Makes sense that you would have phantom units hunting Komodo dragons, platypus, okapi, gorillas, giant squid, bondagezu, mythological creature. It's just a little bear from Western Papua New Guinea, or the Moni people. The kangaroo. Okay, okay. So it actually kind of makes sense if you think about it. I get everybody's brain wants to jump to Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, the Jersey Devil, the Chupacabra, Mothman, werewolves, and all the fantasy. But think about the Medusa program and doing experiments with squid. Think about what you can do, what you could do with the DNA of a kangaroo. For those of you that don't know, like kangaroos are fucking yoked, strong as shit. Squid are smart as fuck. Like I know people want to branch off into dive out into the fucking beyond and let's talk about Bigfoot, Jared. No. You know what I'm really interested in? Secret government experiments on squid. I'm really interested in that. We've talked a lot about squid. We've mentioned them in passing a lot, where we're like, man, squid are fucking smart. Man, squid look like aliens. They look like Cthulhu, right? Cthulhu or whatever. Stacy said kangaroos are mean. Yeah, but you can imagine what their fucking DNA would yield, right? Right? What their DNA would tell you of what to put in your gullet to make you bigger, faster, stronger. I know everybody wants to talk about other shit. Oh, and by the way, the US government is looking into creating lists. That's what their big thing is. Making lists of people that oppose Israel. And I'm just letting you know, I'm making it my fucking personality. If I find out that a corporation supports Donald Trump, this administration, ICE, any of that shit, I'm not doing business with them. It's just that simple. It's that fucking simple. We're not doing that shit. Yeah, I can understand why you'd want to experiment on them when you have like SEALs and it's the CIA and shit. Plum Island, Area 51, the Medusa program. I met a survivor of that. And again, my bullshit meter is on fleek. Like, I'll pick you out of a fucking crowd if you're on some shit. And this motherfucker did not. It did not. It did not trip me up at all. Mm-mm. Every term that man used, I was able to pull up CIA docs that have been declassified. Now, I'm unable to get a lot of information out of that. And I think that calling it the Medusa program immediately throws people off because you're stuck looking at all right, the Navy had this Medusa program that was trying to build a non-lethal underwater mine delivery system. And that kind of makes sense if you're a Navy SEAL. Hmm. But he didn't say he was part of a Medusa program on active duty. He said he wasn't able to get into a Phantom unit on active duty, so he left and joined the CIA and was able to get into the Medusa program, was able to go to Plum Island, Area 51, and he was able to get up with those Phantom units as a CIA leader. And then I think, I think, based on how he behaved, he didn't find anything. Think about the line of conversation. If he was out here plugging fucking aliens and shit, he would have said something. If he was out here, yeah, we hunted down fucking Bigfoot and shit, bullshit meter would have been going off. But he didn't say that. He said it hurt. They did experiments on me. Not, I was bulletproof going into other dimensions hunting fucking cryptid. He didn't say that. He's not Doom Guy. And he gets oodles of American dollars in retirement. All right. U.S. lifts sanctions on Belavia after Belarus releases political prisoners. Foreign nationals. Wasn't that in the Black Widow movie, Medusa program, girls became superhuman? Now, I think they're twisting the truth a little bit to say that they aimed it specifically at women. When remember, this is a CIA program, so it's going to be predominantly male. So it's Black Widow is the story version. hmm I'm thinking like Winter Soldier. You know what I mean? Like, I'll put it like this: when I almost had to have my arm amputated, they were excited about my potential. And I was just like, huh? And they were like, well, if we cut it off here, give you a whole arm, you'll be very strong. What? Because they were like, we want you back on the field. You know, they will literally put you head to toe, replace your fucking organs, keep you in a fight. Yeah, as long as you're still breathing. So I want to point out that Donald Trump is negotiating with terrorists, agreeing to fucking prisoner swaps. Like, this isn't good. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. This is the thing I was waiting for. So for everyone wondering what's going to ultimately end conflict on earth as we know it. Germs. Germs. Here's some proof on the germ warfare that's currently taking on the Russian army. Bill in the U.S. House of Representatives they fear could allow Secretary of State Marco Rubio to strip U.S. citizens of their passports purely based on political speech. Comes up for a hearing on Wednesday. A lot of people. Bobby, you should be researching Plum Island CIA, and you'll see uh, where they absolutely experimented on people. hmm hmm and also experimented on animals. Yeah. If I remember, and keep in mind, Plum Island was closed in 2021. hmm I'm willing to bet you CIA, Plum Island. I'm willing to bet you they were doing research projects on super soldiers. All right, I have not spoke on this in a while, and it's because I was kind of trying to kind of gather my thoughts as to how I felt. Okay, Brian Kilmeade. Okay, advocated for the killing of mentally homeless people. Okay, first of all, uh, talking about unaliving whole groups of people is eugenics in practice, and this regime is headed up by billionaires who believe in eugenics, who want to specifically get rid of the people they cannot use: the elderly, the poor, the disabled. Every time you see someone get on television and talk about this dehumanizing shit, this saying we should just brain all the homeless people and brain all the mental health people, they've been saying this shit our whole lives. It's capitalism in practice. Capitalism cannot uphold our disabled. It cannot uphold our elderly. It cannot protect our youth. Capitalism kills. That's what it's there to do. Everything that capitalism makes leads you to, well, eventually you're going to have to fire this weapon. That's what everything in capitalism leads you to. Now you're going to have to kill the bad guy. You're going to have to kill your competition. Okay? The reality of the situation is that people who are disadvantaged are more likely to vote Democrat or leftist than ever vote for a regime like this again. But I, as somebody who has been homeless, who has mental health issues, who's a veteran, right? I will not just sit idly by and listen to someone talk about unaliving me, saying people with mental illnesses should be given involuntary lethal injection. 70% of adults in the United States have a mental illness. Wanting people to die for things that they cannot control is a fucking mental illness. That's what was said on television. They're just saying it out loud. They're just telling you exactly what their handlers are saying. Remember, Stephen Miller said 2/3 of the population of the U.S. could go. And he's up there talking to the president and shit. He's making rules and. Media call. Trump shares call for media accountability with the Charlie Kirk Act. Shares a viral video to rename the Smith-Mundt Act to Charlie Kirk Act. 5,000 signatures. Ooh. That ain't gonna happen. False claims. Changing the law would require an act of Congress. Just remember that. Here's Stephen Miller, your least favorite person. Stephen Miller said, under President Trump's leadership, I don't care how, it could be a RICO charge, a conspiracy charge, conspiracy against the United States insurrection, but we are going to do what it takes to dismantle the organizations and the entities that are fomenting riots. Haven't seen a riot. That are doxing. I haven't seen doxing. And that are trying to inspire terrorism. So again, I wanna side with Rashida, who said the other day, the death of Charlie Kirk was not a political assassination. So it's not politically violent to unalive Charlie Kirk. Why? Because killing Charlie Kirk did further what political ends? What political goal did the shooter of Charlie Kirk have? We don't know. So how can you say it's political violence? Here's what it was. It was a school shooting. That's what it really was. We have to do something about gun violence. Calling it an assassination is giving Charlie Kirk too much credit. And one of the things that you'll never see me do is shedding alligator tears over Charlie Kirk. We don't mourn traitors and fascists. So I hate to say it like this, but I'm kind of glad he's gone. Mm-hmm. And again, remember how I said, you know what I'm worried about? I'm worried about who his wife and who his fucking kid becomes. And boy, that didn't take very long, did it? Right off rip, we were like, hey, look at a piece of shit she is. Yeah, yeah. And look at that weird shit she did. By the way, let's talk about how fucking weird it is. Sorry for the language, ladies. Let's talk about how fucking weird it is to goddamn create content on your husband's corpse. I just want to continue to point out, they're like, buzzards. Vultures. Did you see Charlie Kirk's wife make content on her husband's fucking carcass? Hey, when I die, cremate me and don't fucking embarrass yourselves. You understand me? I don't give a fuck what I did or said or accomplished in my goddamn life. Don't kiss my formaldehyde ass hands, okay? And then don't make a video sitting down, you lazy bitch, next to my casket, making fucking content. The fuck is wrong with you people? Looney Tune ass shit. That's real. That's real. I'm just telling you how I really feel. That Looney Tunes ass shit. Making content on your husband's carcass. Remember, I did say before his funeral, before that all these people that have been making their living off Charlie Kirk, I want to remind you, you platformed him. You let your audience hear him. You spread his message. You're basically his fan. Yeah. Yeah. Now, what I want to continue to point out, beyond a shadow of a doubt, Charlie Kirk's fucking dead. And you know how I know he's dead? Because I haven't seen him speak live. Yeah. Since the incident. And I want to continue to point out that I have people that still contact me that are still saying that was fake. That are still, oh, you can see the magnet move on his shirt. You could see his fucking ring change fingers and shit. As a grown adult, It is not hard to get a ring off this finger onto this finger. If it fits on this finger, it slides off this one real easy. Stop being stupid, you dumb motherfucks. If at any point he has his hands like folded, it's real easy to slip a ring off your pinky that fits on your ring finger and put it on your ring finger. So anybody that's like, he got shot and his ring changed fingers. No, the fuck it didn't. If it was originally on the pinky and it wound up on the ring finger, it had to fit the ring finger. The ring finger is thicker than the fucking pinky. So I'm telling you, there is a logical explanation for that. And that was, you could see his hands folded and he set the microphone down, and I'm guaranteeing you he was fingering that ring and fingered it off his pinky onto his fucking ring. That's explainable. And then meaning like that doesn't even have to be true, but it's in the ballpark of reasonable, explained away. And then a lot of people are confused about some shit, and let me just explain this to you again so that it's in your brain. Okay? So while I was on active duty, I got to go out with the snipers and go to a range and spot. For the record, our snipers are fucking insane. They can fucking reach out and touch someone. Okay? So I'm out there spotting, and they've got a paper target on a stick at 1 mile. And they're out. They had shot at God. They had shot at 800. We'd shot at 1,000, 12, 50, 1,600. Here we go. Okay? And I'm just there with them with binos on, watching this target at range. Okay? Now, first of all, um, at a mile away, the flight time on that Barrett is forever. But what's important about like a 50 cal round, for example, is that once it gets out there a ways, okay, the bullet is no longer traveling like this towards its target. It actually starts to tumble end over end. Okay? And what happens is it still has the same force and energy. It's just because it's now tumbling and losing its perfect rotation that it had, its spin that it had, it starts to tumble. It creates like a field around it. And I watched someone miss from a mile away. And it still took the target out of the fucking ground, and he missed by like a foot. So what you have to understand, now that you heard someone say, I've seen a 50 cal bullet miss a target at range and still rip the target in half. That's how much energy is in that round. Now, we still do not know, or at least I don't know, so I'm not sitting here telling you I know, the exact rifle and round that was fired at Charlie Kirk. But I'll put money that it was a 30-06 or a 223. One of them two. They are the same thing. Effectively. You can, actually, it's a lie. You can shoot one and the other, but not the other and another, whatever. So, what's important is that lots of what you saw visually at slow motion when that bullet struck Charlie Kirk is compounding force. So keep in mind, we are paper mache, and that bullet entered flesh. It hit flesh first. That's why there was blood right away. That's why he went down right the fuck away, because that hit flesh. It hit flesh. Okay? Now, the reason that his microphone flipped off, I'm willing to bet because once that bullet, whatever it was, once it hits bone, it's gonna crater. It's gonna crack. The bullet's gonna come apart in a lot of cases. Okay? Once that bullet comes apart, it can go anywhere. and it still has quite a bit of force. And so, for the record, when you see the opposite side of the chest kind of move and it popped his fucking microphone off, it's because he's wearing a tight fitting shirt, and the microphone was being stressed by the bullet bouncing around in his chest cavity. Okay, so there's gonna be a lot of people that like just can't understand some shit, like his hair, right? You could see his hair. That's force. That's force coming at him, and it fucked up his hair too. Yep, all explainable. There's a lot of force coming with a bullet. It's not just the bullet. There's like a field around it. It's pressure, a lot of pressure. So there's a reason that I say we are paper fucking mache, paper mache. And it's not because we bleed. We can stop fucking bleeding. It's because we have these bones inside this fucking meat suit. And when you shoot a bullet into it and it bounces off a bone and a bullet breaks apart inside you and it's still fucking traveling at a high rate of speed, oh, it fucks that up too. So that's the big reason. Like, don't fucking shoot people. Goddamn, it's the worst. You know, it's the worst. You don't. People's ideals are not often worth dying over. I will argue, however, in closing, Charlie Kirk's ideals were worth him dying over. I'll say it. A lot of people are saying nobody deserves to die for the words that they say. Charlie Kirk deserved that. He got exactly what he deserved. And to say anything else is to think less of people that don't look like you. Because that man caused many people that don't look like you or I to die. Or, yeah, 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 to die. Not just like threaten their life, put them in danger, which he also did. Okay. And I would say this about just about anybody on the right, okay? Anybody fomenting violence. If you are calling for violence on other people, I hope you get it back. I hope it comes back to you because I don't want it on anyone else. And right before he died doing what he loves to do. And that is sling misinformation and try to tell other people that black people are committing mass shootings. And I'll sit here and tell you that 86% of violence in this country, like political violence, which again, you and I have talked about this. It's political violence if the people doing the killing have an agenda, if they have goals. Otherwise, it's like terrorism and state-sponsored violence and okay. Because I see too many people that are shedding tears and being empathetic towards this person, and I'm just like, nope, we're not martyring him. And above all things, do you know why Charlie Kirk won't be a martyr? And again, why this regime will be a failure? Because Donald Trump won't let Charlie Kirk be the martyr. Donald Trump wants himself to be the center of attention at all times. He already was asked about Charlie Kirk and changed the fucking conversation. Oh, look, the trucks. You see the trucks? They're building this ballroom, $150 million ballroom. By the way, that was a $200 million ballroom a while back. Is now a $150 million ballroom. Want to point that out. Okay? It's probably more like 20 million tops, but he's going to pocket the rest because that's how Donald Trump works. But yeah, I want to make sure that somebody out here says it. Sometimes when the bad guy dies, yeah, that's what I thought was going to happen to him. Did you think Charlie Kirk was going to live to be an old man? I never saw Charlie Kirk as an old man. I saw him as a fucking child. Like an angry child. An angry child whose parents adopted a kid and then loved that child more than him. That's what I think of Charlie Kirk. Was just not loved. And then look at his, listen to his wife speak. And you're like, you know, I kind of thought she would drop it. She's gonna take over his job. That that hateful, ugly thing that he left behind is gonna sing his tune, and I think it's an abject failure. hmm Yeah. So the reason Charlie Kirk won't be martyred is because Donald Trump won't let it, because it's all about him. And he already showed you exactly how he treats people who can do him no good. And again, I want to point this out. My first year coaching high school sports, we had a special needs kid that wanted to play football real bad. And my head coach told him no and pushed him away and said, I don't want you anywhere near my football program. And I grabbed that kid and I pulled him to me, and he cried. He was so upset. If I'm so stupid and if I'm so worthless, why won't he let me go hit someone? And I said, because he's afraid you'll make it worse. And that kid understood me. And he was like, oh, so he thinks it's going to make my life worse. Yes. Okay. I believe him. Why don't you work with me? I got to carry a bunch of equipment and shit and nobody helps me. You want to help me? And the kid was there every fucking day. Every fucking practice, every fucking game. Never said this is too much. It's not worth it at all. He did everything I asked him to do. And you know what happened at the end of his year? That first of all, that kid graduated high school. That's like probably one of my prouder things I've ever accomplished in my life was that kid graduated. Okay? But his mom is the one that told me at his at the awards ceremony for track, because he ran track. He wasn't like, I wasn't babysitting him at track. He was running. I was coaching the throwers. But at sectionals, he came and got me to watch him run. And it was his best. He didn't win or anything. He wasn't like a good athlete. But he made it all the way around 4 times without stopping. And he was so fucking tired, but he was so fucking proud of himself. And he gave me like the longest hug I've ever gotten in my life, like a nasty, sweaty ass hug. And then his mom said, you know, it says the most about people how you treat people that can do you no good. And like he's not a thrower, so you don't coach him. He didn't play football, so you didn't coach him, but he calls you coach. Every time that kid sees you, he's like, that's the only person that ever treated me like a person. That ever made me feel like I had value. And I'll never forget what his mom said. I won't remember you, though. I'll remember how your head coach treated my son. And I never work for that man again. And I'm just happy to say that guy's not coaching football. Like I ain't coaching football neither, but neither is he.